Good morning, everybody. It's Mark Schultz. We're going to get going on our webinar here. I got a little screensaver that's going right now. We're going to shut that down, and we're going to start this webinar. One of the exciting things about a live webinar is you never really know what's going to happen. But I'm telling you that this is in fact live, and we're looking forward to being here with you this morning. So. Hey, welcome to the Business Mastery in Aviation webinar. This is part of a digital transformation knowledge series. And let me tell you about our company. Our company exists to help companies to create a new future through digital transformation. And the question that you might even have that what does that really even mean? What is really digital transformation? And so what we're going to do over the course of this webinar this morning is we're going to have some live presentation and some discussion about digital transformation. And we are really excited about doing this morning. And again, this is live, which makes it pretty exciting about the things that we do, because you never really know exactly what's going to happen. All right, let's dive right in. All right, so digital transformation defined. All right, so digital transformation is a term which really came about just only a few years ago, and we used to talk about IT portfolios and about paperless operations, and the most common way to refer to digital is to say digital transformation today. And what it really is it's a rethinking of how a company made up of people, processes, and technology will change the performance of a business. And I want to really critically focus on that, about changing the performance of a business, because what we're going to talk about is how it is that that digital transformation really is about business. It's about the success of a business, and it's about people and processes and technology that are creating the success of a business. And it's really that. It's about how do we create the success of a business. So we're going to keep things going here in this live webinar, which is exciting because, like I said, you never know really exactly how things are going to go. All right. So let's talk for a second about the goals of this webinar. All right. So, you want to know what really to expect from this webinar, and are you really in the right place? Is this really a webinar that you want to be on, or should you be on? And one thing's for certain, that there are no two journeys that are really the same, all right? Because everybody on a digital transformation journey is on really a different path. And so it's really important that that we take a look at that and the differences between people. So really, what to expect from this presentation, all right? So why would you be here if you weren't looking for answers, all right? Really to give you the greatest desires that you have, or to be successful in business, to be successful in a digital transformation journey that you have, really, but to pursue knowledge and information about digital transformation. So what can you expect from this webinar? We can expect that we'll exchange knowledge and information in this webinar at this point in time. Next is that it's my intention that you would be that you would increase your status. That you would be satisfied with your accomplishments, or that you would be recognized for what you would do, or that you would achieve certain achievements or goals that you ultimately would like to that you would like to learn, that you would like to earn more money, you would like to have personal satisfaction of completing a job. But as people do anything, what they're really doing is they are trying to attain some particular status in what they're doing. And as we look at digital transformation is really no different than anything else. Is that we're trying to achieve something. We're trying to accomplish a job. We're trying to create success in our business. And there's a lot of different reasons why people join digital transformation journeys. And everyone is on a different journey. And like I said, it's a little bit difficult when you're doing a live webinar, because I'm trying to work mouses and things like that, so it creates its own challenges in doing that. So, all right. So the next thing is that there's a number of different people that would be on this webinar at this point in time. And we have people that come from various places in their digital journey. And there's a reason why I didn't call this webinar the Digital Transformation Jumpstart, and it's because everybody's starting from a different place. And if we were to say this was a Digital Transformation Jumpstart, then we'd be saying that everybody was starting from a place of zero. But that's not the case. When people are on a digital transformation journey, nobody starts from zero, is what they do. Is if we have a cell phone, we're on a digital transformation journey. We've started doing something. And so people are on different places really in their journeys at this point. And so we called this the Digital Transformation Accelerator, because no matter where you are, we know that you're going to want to accelerate your journey on that digital transformation. So that's really one of the key terms of this, all right? So for those that are on this webinar right now at this point in time, you may find yourself early in a journey. There are those who need to advance in a journey. There are those who maybe are in a new business, or they have new business processes that need technology. And there are those who have legacy processes really that need transformation. And then, we have people that have quite advanced operations, and they're looking to put in place advanced processes and data and technologies really to help them grow or really to advance further. All right. Now, there might be other people on this webinar right now, which they're a one-person shop, like maybe a consultant organization, or there might be people on this webinar that are salespersons, and each one of you will be on a different journey, in this process. You could be a software IT company, and you will be on another journey. And you could be an OEM who has quite advanced digital processes, and you're on a different journey as well. And so you might be looking at doing analytics and 3D modeling, or you might look at broadening your widespread portfolio. And like I said just a couple of minutes ago, though, is that one thing is for absolutely certain is that everybody's on a different journey. But if you're one of those people that falls in that category of what I just described, I can guarantee you that you are in the right place, at this point. All right. So some of you know me, some of you don't, because I've seen we have a lot of people on the webinar that I recognize their names, and there's people on the webinar that I don't recognize their names. And so that's a good thing. So we have people who are a first time, meeting us at this point in time at DigitalAircraft. So I want to just for a second, I want to say to you is that who is Mark Schultz? You're probably asking yourself, who is this guy, and what is he all about at this point? Well, let me just tell you a little bit about myself, right now. I've been on an aviation journey for many, many years. Let me just tell you a quick story about myself. Is that I was 13 years old, and my father and I went to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And if you're from out of the country, most people know what Oshkosh is, but Oshkosh is the world's largest fly-in for a period of time. And he took me there at age 13 so I could go experience airplanes and flying. And what was exciting for me is that he paid to put me in the front right seat of a Ford tri-motor at that point in time. And that was so exciting is that I could not believe it. I had gotten so excited about aviation at that point that I went back and I began to work on getting my pilot's license. All right. And I soloed my first airplane by the time I was 15 and a half years old. And I went on to later get my private pilot license in a commercial instrument, multi-engine land. And so I have a pilot background, as well. And then I got excited about aircraft and aircraft maintenance, and I went on to get a A&P certificate from the FAA, and I got an engineering degree from Purdue, and I went back and I got an MBA at the University of Denver. But so I did some of those things. But what's most important to me though is that I was excited and enthusiastic about aviation. But I want to tell you one thing that started my digital transformation journey. All right, because this is really significant for me. Is you need to know this about me. I was 17 years old, and I had already been flying, and I was starting to work on being a mechanic at that time. And I found out that aviation or airworthiness directives were only available in paper. And that was really disappointing to me because there was really no way to handle that, to manage paper. And so I called up a friend of mine who worked at a big IT company at the time. And I asked him, I said, hey, how many pages of paper can you put on a hard drive, on a computer? Because I knew nothing about computers and about digital transformation, and at that time about IT. And you know, he told me, well, it really varies. It depends upon the size of the text and the graphics, and we all know that. But that really was the beginning of my search for digital and for digital transformation. So combined with my love and my enthusiasm for aviation and the beginning of my journey, I was launched off onto a path of looking at digital for aviation. I was bound and determined and destined to support the aviation industry in doing digital, you know, now, and it's been nearly 35 years, you know, that I've done that at this point in time. So a little bit more about the business at this point. So let's take a look at really the success profile over the years. Is that I have worked with and implemented systems at over 200 aviation aerospace companies. And just in the last few years alone, I've flown 1 million miles. Last year, I flew 480,000 miles, and I experienced really literally hundreds of companies and what they were doing in the aviation aerospace business of companies and what they were doing in the area of digital transformation. Now, the importance of this, it was the examining of businesses and examining what they're doing and the type of work that they were doing and the type of digital that they needed. And, you know, I find one thing which is extremely important to continue to note is that every company is different. Everyone is on a different journey. Everyone is at a different place. And there is no single company that's on the same journey. And you might think to yourself, boy, that makes it really difficult. Is that how do you do digital transformation when everybody is at a different place and everybody's on a different journey? And that's really what one of the hard things is of the whole thing. Continuing on further is that further, I have been involved in a lot of different businesses over the years, and I've been involved in software SaaS companies and generated revenue in those companies. I've been involved in manufacturers and generated revenues in those companies. I've generated millions of dollars in consulting revenue. I've helped new companies to be able to do startup activities and to be able to create new leads and to be able to create webinars. I helped one small company create 5,000 new customers to be able to create social media exposure. I was also involved in commercial real estate, and we built $30 million worth of real estate value and worth of operations. I was involved in retail operations. But the point is that I've been involved in starting up of over 24 businesses, small businesses on my own. And so not only have I seen big companies and seen small companies and what it takes to be able to start a business and to create revenue, but also to be able to create revenue within bigger infrastructures. I've worked with multi-billion-dollar companies, and I've worked with companies that were several hundred thousand, in business. And so over the years, I have worked in many different environments and learned a lot about business. So that's really a little bit about myself. And I wanted you to understand that, because so you understand the perspective that I'm coming from and really what it is that I do, or what I've done in the past. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So here are the things that we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes or so, all right? So I am going to, just a second here, continue during this process of making certain whether we have questions or not. And so it might be just a teeny little break in this process before we head on forward here. But I want to put out into the comments here is that what's happening with people, and if they're starting to have any questions yet, because I see we have quite a few people online here this morning, and we're looking to make sure that everybody's getting value from this, and so I want to see if there's questions. So if you have a question, you could just throw it into the chat box, or you actually could use the Q&A that is part of this. And we'll just keep things going this morning as part of this. Going to take a quick look at the computer and make sure what we got for questions here. Yep, looks like things are going okay. And we will continue on here. All right. Okay, very good. All right, so let's go to the next phase here. Okay, three core secrets of digital transformation. One of the things that I promised you in this webinar that we would talk about digital transformation and what are the core secrets of digital transformation. So many people don't understand this, all right, is that digital transformation really starts with, do you believe, all right? And so the three main things that we're going to hit on is belief in the success of what it is that we're doing, the four cornerstones of digital transformation, and a vision for the future. And so those things combined, are the three secrets that we said that we were going to cover in this webinar today. And so we're going to just jump right into that. So let's start out with do you believe, all right? So a question that you have to ask yourself is that really what's stopping you? What's stopping you from digital transformation? What's stopping you from going to paperless operations? What's stopping you from creating success, around your business, and to be able to leverage technology, to be able to leverage digital, and to be able to be successful in the implementation of technology? What is stopping you? And so I'm going to tell you a quick little story about myself and my journey in digital transformation. So now I've spent the last 20 years looking to achieve, digital transformation and to develop IT solutions. And during that 20 years, I've gone through, a variety of different journeys. But let me tell you what I found is that many years ago, I worked at Northwest Airlines, and I actually was a consumer of technology at that point in time. And as a consumer of that technology, I was using IT and I was leveraging that, trying to grow the business. And I was involved in managing of engineering and managing of technical publications and managing of aircraft training at the maintenance training at those times. And we were consuming and using of technology. And the thing that was frustrating to me and challenging to me is that no matter what we were doing, it was always difficult to be able to achieve the successes we were looking for because the technology just wasn't there. Is that if you go back in time, is that what we found is that the standards didn't exist, and I got involved in the ATA groups, which were defining and establishing standards, and then I further got involved in data and data conversion, that was involved. And so at the beginning, we didn't have standards, and then we didn't have data that existed. And then everybody found out that we really didn't have software that existed that met our needs. And then as we went on, we found out that internet infrastructure was really inadequate to be able to deliver, the data sets that we had, which made it extremely difficult. And then, computer and hardware wasn't fast enough to be able to do the processing for what we were looking for. And then that was difficult. And then we found out that they weren't mobile devices, really, at least that weren't affordable to be able to accomplish the things that we wanted to accomplish. And then, to make it even more difficult after all of that is that the regulators in this industry, which is so controlled, so regulated, were not completely comfortable with the fact that we were using digital technology. And so we had to, on top of that, convince the regulators. And so, what I want you to understand in this process is that I know that everybody on this webinar has been on a journey of digital transformation. And there have been things that you've done that have not been successful. I want to tell you this, and I tell people this all the time, is that it is not your fault, all right? Things that maybe were not successful in the past, maybe they didn't achieve the full success of what you were looking for, it's not your fault, all right? There were so many factors in our industry which prevented people from moving forward and from being successful that it made it extremely difficult for us to move. It was like we were handcuffed and people couldn't move forward, all right? And then over time, it was almost as if something, magic happened and all of the factors started to come together. And to be able to create an environment where we were able to begin to do digital transformation. We had standards and we had data, and data conversion became more consistent, and software was really increasing and growing with functionality. And it was just amazing because, we had internet infrastructure and we were able to deliver large quantities of data, and mobile technology just hit the scene all at once. And, it was with great enthusiasm that all of a sudden we began to be able to do these things. But, stop for a minute. is that what happens though is that our brain gets programmed, to say, oh, I tried that before and it wasn't successful. And if I go down this path again, what if I fail? And so this is where the idea of belief comes from, all right? Is that in the last few years, I've worked with many, many different companies that have been successful in digital transformation. And there's been one common thread, which has been part of the success of every one of those organizations. They had people which absolutely, unequivocally believed in what they were doing and the success of moving forward with digital transformation. Those people knew that when they went into a project, they were going to come out the other side with a success. They had committed that it wasn't that they were going to try this out and just see if it would work, but they were absolutely committed to come out the other side with a successful transformation process. Believing in what we're doing is a critical foundational component of being successful in anything, and even more so in an industry where we've tried things over and over again and they just are not as successful as what we want, or we didn't get the return on investment that we were looking for, and in the end it felt like we couldn't get there. So how many of you out there can relate to this? I mean, I know that I can, and this has happened to me many times. And have you found yourself in that situation before where you just have difficulty believing because some things happened in the past which weren't successful? But I'm telling you right now is that the cornerstone, or one of the key successes of starting out in digital transformation, is absolutely believing in what you're doing and where you're going. All right, let's go to the next. Okay, secret number 2. Really, what are the 4 cornerstones of digital transformation? Because I believe that no matter what journey you're on, there are 4 cornerstones to digital transformation. And these cornerstones are essential for the success. There have been companies that have done recent surveys, and they've surveyed CTOs and CIOs and companies, all around the world. And they found out that these things are critical to the success of digital transformation. Now, from my personal experience, I have seen that, and that has just confirmed what it is that, that I've seen and what I believe. So really, what are the 4 cornerstones? Here they are. Whoop, there we go. Here we are. The first one is we just talked about, which was belief, all right? And the next one is people, process, and technology. Now, belief, people, process, and technology are the 4 cornerstones. They're like 4 legs on a stool. If any one of those legs on that chair or that stool are missing, it's going to fall over. And so it's extremely important that digital transformation have these 4 corners. I've just talked to you about belief. Now, let me tell you a quick story about something I saw recently. Earlier this year, I went to a company, to an MRO. They were super excited about doing digital transformation. Their people were engaged, and they were moving forward at this point in time. But they had one critical thing that they did that was a serious error. They hadn't really defined what it was that they were going to do with the technology. They hadn't decided what was their real core business problems and what were they going to address and how are they going to move forward. And what they did is they went out and bought technology. Hey, everybody's out buying iPads today. We're going to run out and buy iPads. They went out and bought a bunch of iPads. They bought a kiosk to be able to, to charge and to store and to check out the iPads. And they got it installed and they were all ready to go. And everybody kind of said, hey, we got all this hardware and we invested all this money and we don't really have a plan. We don't really have software. We don't really have business processes that we've addressed. And, so commonly, so frequently, people end up doing that. They end up actually implement technology, and then they look for where's the business, what should they do, with that at this point. And so that's really backwards. And so as you look at this chart that I have here right now, belief, people, process, and technology is that it really needs to be in that order. And so, what we want to say is that in order for there to be successful digital transformation, we need to believe. All right. I told you that we need to believe. All right. The second most important thing is that we have people engaged in the process. All right. As I've seen businesses that have been successful in the implementation of digital transformation, it's been all about people. It's been all about the team, and it's been all about people engaged, believing people who are engaged in the process of digital transformation. Now, let me ask you this. Here's a question. Do you know somebody in your organization, maybe it's you, maybe it's some of your coworkers, that are really super knowledgeable on digital? We all do. Everybody does, all right? And you see, in our organization, whether we're an individual contributor or whether we're an organization of tens of thousands of people, there's people in the organization that are knowledgeable and experts on digital and on digital transformation. I found this when I worked at Boeing. There wasn't a single kind of a skill set that existed at Boeing that didn't exist at Boeing. Everybody, there's so many people in the organization that there was skills that came from every different direction. And people were so knowledgeable and so valuable that one of the biggest challenges was just bringing those people together into a focused team to be able to execute on things to make them happen. But what I challenge you to ask yourself is that, you know, are you leveraging the people in your organization? Is that, are you leveraging the knowledge of the people in your organization? Are they enthusiastic? Are they put onto a team? Do they believe, and are they moving forward? And so one of the most important things is, one of the cornerstones of digital transformation is for the people to be engaged. Hey, I've always said to people for years now that there's nothing that's more contagious than enthusiasm. Oh, there's only one thing. There's only one thing that's more contagious than enthusiasm, and that's the lack of it. So the people that have a lack of enthusiasm, throw water on a fire, and it dampens enthusiasm. But when people have enthusiasm, fires just build and they grow, and people engage and they work together as a team and they work towards success. But you need to leverage the knowledge of people. Now, the next thing that you need to do is you need to leverage the knowledge of people in the industry. Listen, why recreate something every single time we do it? Is that, for example, I've spent almost 40 years now in aviation, and one of the things that I've noticed is that when I go visit companies, many of the different companies that I visit, is that frequently they've worked at companies for many, many years, which is a good thing, because we all want to be a loyal employee to a company, and they've been there for many, many years. But maybe they've only seen the digital technology and the business processes that exist within their company. And so it's extremely important that we leverage the knowledge that exists in the industry to be able to come together as part of our team, to share information, to solicit information from vendors, to talk to people that have done this and have been on this journey in the past, and to be able to leverage that so that we can create success. That's definitely an important part of the process. So leveraging the knowledge that we have internally, as well as leveraging the knowledge that comes from the outside at this point. All right, next, let's talk about process, business process. All right, now, why are we waiting to talk about technology at the end? All right, well, I just told you why we're waiting to talk about technology at the end. Yes, this is about digital transformation. Yes, but technology is part of the process. But what's the goal of any business? Is it to put out a product? Is it to to give people jobs? Maybe those things are important parts of it, but the goal of a business is to be profitable, is to make money. That's the goal of a business. And so looking at the business processes and looking at what it is that needs to be successful in a business for them to be able to create money is an important part of the process. And so we have to examine business processes, the baseline business processes that we have. We have to examine what's working, what's not working within a business. We have to define what that baseline is. What are the core business processes that we need to have in this business in order for it to be successful? Well, actually, it is important for us to have successful business processes, and we need to define those, but we also need to know where the challenges are. We need to know what are the things that are happening within our business that are going to give us difficulty in being successful. Now, difficulty in being successful doesn't mean necessarily there's a problem. There might be an event. There might be a new situation. So one of the things I always ask people is that what are the events happening in your business that might require digital transformation? So I know somebody that's building a new hangar, and they're being driven to implement new technology because they're building a new hangar, and they're going to move infrastructure to the new hangar. Well, they decided that that was a good opportunity to be able to implement new technology and software and processes, and to be able to use that as part of their cornerstone of digital transformation. So maybe a change in facilities. maybe a change in the type of employees or the location of the business. That might need to have a change in digital transformation. Next is that I've worked with many companies in the past who are doing entry into service of new aircraft. And let's give this an example. Let's just say you're implementing an A350 or you're implementing a 787, and those aircraft are E-enabled aircraft. They have digital processes. And so if you're an organization that maintains airplanes, and for many years you've been maintaining aircraft that are not as E-enabled. Yes, there's many aircraft out there that have loadable software parts, but on those new aircraft having new technology requirements, there is a significant change in the business process of maintaining and supporting those airplanes. And so in the end, it's necessary to examine what you're currently doing, examine what the necessary requirements are to support those new aircraft, look at the technology that's needed to be able to support those airplanes, and then to be able to redefine the new business processes that are required to be able to support those airplanes. So business process is an extremely important part of digital transformation, because in order to be able to create efficiencies in the business, we have to understand what the processes are. Also, most recently, over the last few years, I've been involved in business digital transformations that have been focused on production and on production control. Well, one of the things that I found out is that because of the amount of labor that we put on maintaining of aircraft and of maintaining things in the industry, that small changes in improvement in production efficiency make a dramatic change in the cost of an organization or the success of an organization. And so finding those places where we can implement change in the business that will make a dramatic change to the business model can change cash flow, can change the efficiency. I don't think I found an organization around the world, doing maintenance that wasn't short, 10% or short 100 people in their maintenance process. And so everybody is needing to have maintenance efficiencies and to be able to create the ability to be able to move forward with greater production efficiency. So process becomes an important part of that. Now, we're coming all around. We said belief, we said people, we said process. Now we're coming around to technology, all right? And, I know that many times we tend to jump right to the technology question and say, hey, what technology is out there and how can I implement it in my business, all right? Well, I again challenge you to say that digital transformation is based on those four corners, all right? And technology is a critical, of course, component to digital transformation, but it's the leveraging of technology to create the success using the people who enthusiastically believe in what we're doing and how it is that we're moving forward. And so this becomes a process where you need to evaluate technology. You need to understand technology. You need to talk to people that are involved in technology, people that are implementing technology, people that understand the latest and greatest technology. But let me ask you a question. Has anybody ever gone out and bought the latest and greatest computer and found out that, the next version came out, next week, or we went out and bought a brand new phone and the latest phone came out immediately right after that, and so one of the things that we find is that technology is constantly changing and we have to change. And so part of this process is this circle of continuously evaluating what it is that we're doing, what technology is out there, and how we can create the most successful, cost-effective implementation of that without creating churn. That's an important part of that. So these are the four corners of digital transformation. And it's really those four pieces which are really necessary to be able to create success. All right, now we're going to go to secret number 3. All right, secret number 3. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is, I got a box in front of my screen, so I'm going to move that right now. That just happens. Like I said, when it's live, you never know what's happening here, okay? So I'm just moving that out of the way. All right, so on the screen, what you have is you have a puzzle, all right? And you have a box that the puzzle pieces came out of. And here's something that I frequently tell people is that when we're looking at a vision of the future, many times our companies, we find ourselves in a position that's exactly what you see in this picture at this point in time, is that there's puzzle pieces everywhere. Part of it's put together, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly how you put the puzzle together. And I'll tell you why, is that many years ago, somebody lost the picture, or they lost the cover to the puzzle box. And now we don't know what the puzzle looks like anymore at that point. And we're grabbing the puzzle pieces and we're putting the puzzle together the best that we can based on what we think it looks like. There's a few edge pieces that are over there. There's some different colors. We start putting it together, but it's more difficult to do because we don't have that picture anymore. And so what I tell people it's absolutely necessary to do is to repaint that picture of the future, to repaint that picture of what that puzzle needs to look like, all right? Now, yep, going back to my screen here to go to the next slide. There we go. And what we find is that we need to know what the puzzle picture, what the picture looks like, all right? And many times what happens is we become overwhelmed by that because digital transformation can be large, right? Now, digital transformation could be buying a new phone for you personally, and you've been digitally transformed because you have the latest and greatest features and technology. But for a very large organization, like a very large airline, for example, or an OEM, it's far more complicated than that. I visited an airline not too long ago where they had about 250 different systems that existed within the airline, and many of them were repeated or replicated as many as 50 times each, and none of them were integrated with each other, and so they had a very, very complex kind of an environment. And so it can become very, very overwhelming. So once we start looking at the whole picture, and we start looking at how overwhelming the process is, it's easy to be able to feel like, I don't know if I believe anymore. Why did I tell you it was so important to believe? Is because we have to believe. We have to have a team of people that are engaged, and we have to have an absolute, resolute direction on what we're doing, that we're going to do this and it's going to be successful. You need to expect that that puzzle will change and over time, and we need to adapt and we need to modify, all right? Is that technology changes, systems are on a journey of legacy and of evolving. And so it will happen over time that things will change. This is not a static journey. Look how fast things have changed over the last 5 years or so. I think it's only been about 7 years that iPads have been on the scene. And 7 years ago, it was common to see paper in the cockpit of an airplane. And now it's rare, to see paper in the cockpit of an airplane. Everybody has an iPad, with approach plates on it. This is a common practice. This happened very, very rapidly. And so what we find is this technology adoption curve is happening very rapidly. So you need to plan into that process that things will change. And it's just part of the process. We have to be fluid. I found businesses in the past where I had a lot of employees that turned over. It was just the nature of a business. And you had to plan for that. You can't resist change. I couldn't resist the fact that employees were going to turn over. I had to just say, this is a normal part of the process, and I have to work with it. The same thing happens with technology, is that there is change, and it happens, and we need to just work with it and make it a fluid part of our process. So what are the core elements for success? You have to look at that. We have to keep focused on those core elements of success. We have to keep building on those high value elements as we're in this 4 cornerstones, of these secrets, that we've talked about at this point in time. So, those are really the most critical components of digital transformation. Now, you might be asking yourself, is that how can I be successful, in a business like this when things are shifting and changing, so rapidly, and what can I do? And how do I keep up with it? And, how is it even possible to be successful when things are changing around me all the time? This is the world that we live in, is that we need to learn to move faster and go further, and we need to learn to be able to adapt, and we need to leverage the changes that have occurred over time. If we stay in the past and try to do things an old way, then we will definitely not be successful in moving forward. We need to continue to adapt and to change. And as the requirements of the business change and as technology changes, we need to reevaluate, and we need to be able to capture that and to move forward with the new picture that's on the horizon. You will be successful. We need to move from can I be successful to you will be successful. Those are critical elements. Now, let me just ask you this question. If I could get back over to my live screen, I keep telling you when it's live, it's exciting. So let me ask you this question. If you did the secrets that we talked about, secrets 1, 2, and 3, do you think you could be successful? If you believed with all your mind and soul, if you had a team that was engaged and wanted to be successful, if your leadership was engaged and telling you we're doing this and we're moving forward, secret number 1, all right? Could you be successful? Yeah. Number 2 is that the 4 cornerstones of digital transformation: belief, people, process, and technology. If you had a system in place in your organization where you were believing and you had a good team of people and you were collaborating with the industry and you were evaluating business processes and you were looking at the low-hanging fruits and you were implementing technology and you were reevaluating that over and over and over again, and you were implementing and you were creating success after success after success, do you think you could be successful in that environment? I believe you can be successful in that environment. If you had the right tools, if you had the right belief, the expertise, the time, the real question is that what's stopping you? Usually it's belief that's stopping us. Usually it's belief. Next, it's lack of confidence in our skills and our ability. Next, it's the lack of resources, available to us. And all those things, seem to prevent us from moving forward. But I tell you is that we are no longer in the old world. We are in the new world. And the new world is that you can be successful in this business. I can't think of a single major obstacle that exists anymore technologically keeping people from moving forward with digital transformation. Hey, the regulators are not just, they're not questioning whether we implement digital technology anymore. They're actually demanding it for better safety and for better control over environments. They have now seen that having digital transformation and having digital technology, it enables us to have a safer, more efficient aviation environment. And so they're demanding it. And so even the regulators in some of the most stringent countries that I've worked in are working together with airlines to be able to create successful digital transformation environments. And so really, the question is that what's stopping you? All right. What is it? What is it that's stopping you? So I have to tell you is that there is a better way. All right. There really is a better way. I'm going to tell you this is that I worked as an airline for a consultant at one time. And I did that over a 3-year period. And it cost them $2.2 million to use me, one person, as a consultant. All right. And, the cost of the traditional consulting model that we've all used in the past, it works, but it's costly. You have to have a big organization and you have to be able to have a lot of, money to be able to leverage that kind of expertise. And there are some very good consulting organizations that exist out there, big companies, small companies that exist, and they add tremendous value to what people do, all right, to businesses. But what I have to tell you is that there is a different way of doing it. And today, I believe that there's a better way to do it. What I'm going to talk to you about now really is what is it that digital aircraft is doing today? What is it that digital aircraft is doing in the industry to make a difference in leveraging technology really that exists out there to make digital transformation attainable to anybody out there today? First of all, I want to tell you what we're doing is we're offering a class right now. We're offering a class which is a digital transformation accelerator masterclass. And I told you that we don't call this a jump start. And the reason we don't call this a jump start is because everybody's in a different position. Looks to me like, there you go, the screen was a little bit covering the presentation charts, so I just moved that. So, we're offering an accelerator masterclass to people. And what I've found is that with a focused effort on the right things, that in a 30-day period, people can make a difference in their business. I've actually seen complete systems implemented in 30 days, but depending upon the complexity of a business and where you are on the journey, there's different things that you need in each one of your businesses to learn and to be successful. And so I have a question for you. Let me ask you this, all right? Is that if you saw a path that you could go on to be able to create success, would you want it? If those things that we talked about, the secrets 1, 2, and 3, were all aligned and they were available to you, would you take that to be able to create success? Well, I have to say that there is a better way. And what's happening today is that we're able to leverage technology like this. I mean, look at this. You're on a webinar today with me, and I have people all over the world. I have people in Australia. I have people in Europe. I have people in France. I have people in Spain. I have someone in Brazil. I have people on this webinar today in the US. I have people on this webinar today that are all around the world, right? In what universe could you communicate with people all around the world only just a few years ago, all right? I challenge you and say, are you leveraging that kind of capability to the advantage of your success, all right? Let me just tell you this, is that, hey, I do some work on my cars. I told you that I used to be an A&P mechanic, aircraft mechanic in the past, and so I do some work on my cars. I know how to work on cars. It's not hard, you know, but I'll tell you what I do. Every single time that I want to work on my car, no matter whether I've done it before or not, where do I go? I go to YouTube. I go to YouTube and I look up somebody that's done this work before, and I get some tips and ideas from them because I want to make my life easier. I want to be able to complete this simpler and easier than I have in the past. And so I don't waste resources that are available to me. I leverage them to be able to make my job easier at this point. Well, we live in the world where that kind of knowledge is available to us readily and easily, and we need to leverage it to be able to create success. So what we've done is we've said, hey, why would someone go out and spend $2.2 million on one person when they can leverage the kind of technology and the mass infrastructure that exists today, and to be able to access that, to be able to get knowledge, to be able to be successful in accomplishing their job? That's the question that we have. And that's why we went forward and did this. Now, you might be asking yourself, yeah, but you know, this is probably expensive, isn't it? So what, you know, what does it really cost to do this? If, you know, your time is valuable. You know, I used to be billed out to airlines at $350 an hour. You know, some people used to be billed out even higher than that. But if you took that for a moment, let me go to our next slide. If you took that for a moment and said, well, what's the value of a consultant helping you for 30 days in a digital transformation accelerator masterclass, all right? Well, it comes to about $10,500, all right? Well, okay, I said that's value. You're not going to be charged $10,500 to do this, but that's really what it is. What we do in order to be able to make sure that people are comfortable doing that is that we give people a 30-day, 100% satisfaction, you know, money-back guarantee, all right, as part of that. But wait, we're not going to stop there. You have to understand is that the next thing is that, remember what I said about belief, all right? I said believing was the most important thing, all right? And what we found is that, hey, look, if people go look at some you know, videos, and if they use some tools and some worksheets and they're not really convinced that they can make this successful, they're not going to mentally engage. And so we've specifically designed a program which leverages belief and leverages people working together. And so what we do before we even start the class is we spend an entire week, 5 days, developing belief and how you can work with a team and how you can facilitate this. And so we go through day after day for 5 days, focusing on nothing but belief, because we know how important it is that mentally that you've engaged in this process and you are now ready and willing to engage in a transformation process. We know that belief is super, super important. Now, if you were to implement something like that, you know, that would probably cost you another $1,750. So right now, the value of something like this is $12,250. And you're thinking, well, my business can't afford that. I didn't say we were going to charge that. That's what the value of that is at this point in time. Next, you say, well, what about tools? You know, you told me we have to evaluate our business processes. All right, well, we have business process templates that are included as part of this to be able to help people. Done for you kind of templates where all you have to do is go in and modify them so that you can be able to evaluate your business. We give you guidance and assistance on how to do business process evaluation, and that becomes part of the core of what you're doing at this point. So, you know, we believe that that's worth a value of about $495. That brings the total value of this up to $12,745 at this point in time. Okay, more tools. What's next? Well, you know, we have to be able to develop a return on investment. We have to be able to convince ourselves or an investor or the company that what we're doing actually has return on investment. So we've also included business case development templates to be able to help people to walk through where does the value come from and how do I calculate that and how do we actually put together a business case, you know, for a product. That is again another $495. That brings the value of this up to $13,240. Next, more tools. Hey, what if you decide you want to go out and purchase a piece of software after you've done all this work? You've done this business process evaluation, you evaluated different tools, and you want to go out and do an RFI or you want to do an RFP. Frequently what people do is they need to be able to go out and communicate with the industry, talk to vendors and say, what is it that you have? I want to know, I want some information about your software, or here's my requirements. And so what we've done is we've developed templates for RFPs for you to be able to fill it in, use the basic infrastructure that's there and send it out and to be able to do RFPs. Hey, who's ever done this in the past? I mean, who thinks that this would, give you a jump on what you're doing? This is a tremendous amount of work, at this point in time. So what's that worth? Well, a template, we put it in another $495. That brings the total value of this up to $13,735 at this point in time. Next, hey, even more tools. What's next? Hey, you got to have a project plan, as part of this. So what we've done is we've put together tools, project plan templates, Microsoft Project, PowerPoint, tools. And again, another $495, bringing the total value of this up to $14,230 already at this point. All right. But hey, listen, I said this is about consulting, didn't I? Right? As well. It's necessary for there to be some discussion with people that have done this before. And what we're doing as part of this program is we're offering one-on-one consulting. You will have the opportunity to engage directly with me or one of my associates about your business, your strategy, have a discussion about the strategy, about planning, about what kind of technical review you're doing, some information about your team, having a one-on-one coaching session once a week for 4 weeks. Hey, that's a tremendous commitment, to do that and to be able to get that. And, the value of that really comes up to about $2,500. If you look at $350 an hour for somebody who's doing that kind of thing, that brings the total value of this program so far up to $16,730 at this point. Next, we believe that getting input from the outside, from other people that are doing this, is extremely valuable. And so we've also designed a group coaching kind of a scenario where once a week, people that are part of the program have the opportunity to jump onto a group mastermind coaching session. And they have the ability to share knowledge, to do peer reviews with those people. Let me tell you what, I got to tell you a quick story, is that about 2 years ago, I attended a mastermind of people that were highly successful business people. And it reminded me again that I don't leverage the expertise of successful business people in my own business. And what happened is it caused me to dramatically change the approach that I had in my business. And as a result, I increased sales at that particular point in time by about 30 times over what I was doing at that point. Knowledge from other people helping you gain perspective on what you're doing is a critical, important part of success in a business. And so we've incorporated that into this program. We've tagged that at $1,250. So the total value of this package so far comes up to $17,980 US dollars. Okay, next is that we have people in our organization called Aviation Professionals in the Digital Aircraft organization who have 20, 30, 40 years of industry experience. As part of this, you're going to have access through social media to do Q&A of those people, that you can ask questions of people that have done this before. Where in the world could you get access to people like that without maybe flying around the world and going to conferences and talking to people and taking weeks to do this? It's just not available. So we believe this is a tremendously valuable component of this offering. And it comes to, we believe it has a value of $49.95, which brings the total value of this program right now up to $22,975. So what's next? Listen, you have to have somewhere to put all this information. We have a membership site, and as part of this program, we're going to give you lifetime access to this membership site. And it includes a safety and a storage vault. So this training, these tools, these templates, these videos, these downloads, are all available and accessible to you for lifetime. You'll have a personalized login into the system, and it's all available to you. So we believe that's a value of having that vault of $199, bringing the total value to $23,669. Hey, it's really getting up there, isn't it? Hey, then we are going to give you access into a private Facebook site for Digital Aircraft. And you might say, well, we don't use Facebook, in aviation very much. I know we don't. Everybody else in the world does, but we don't leverage it very much. Why would you use Facebook to be able to have, a private site? is because Facebook has a tremendous amount of reach, and it's easy for people to get on, and you can do live, broadcasts, and you can do Q&A, you can do chats. It's become the new blog that exists. And so we've leveraged that as the place where people can go and get knowledge and use information. We're just including that as part of the process. We haven't assigned a value to that. Next, we have a LinkedIn site where people can also, exchange information and comment and join the conversation. And we say, to have shared knowledge and ask questions, and there's videos and posts there. That's also accessible and available to you. That's included, as it is to anybody at this point. Next is that we have relationships with over 200 software vendors, and we have the ability to be able to work with those people and for you to be able to get discounts with them or be involved in affiliate programs. And when you join this program, you will have access to those. And that is really a value that can't be defined, because it's based on what it is that you do and what your needs and requirements are. And that can be thousands of dollars. Next is that one of the things that we decided we wanted to do is at the end of the program, at the end of the 30 days, have a 5th week, which is a bonus. It's a special bonus that we're throwing in. It's a sales process mastery program. Because one of the things I found being involved in sales is that people are leaving a lot of sales processes up to chance, and people are not leveraging digital transformation in sales. And so I have a particular special interest in sales. And so at the end of this program, for 1 week, we have a sales process mastery program, which is going to focus on social media tips and tricks, how to do lead development, how to do lead tracking, how to stay motivated, how to really engage in the industry and 10x your sales. And we also have some process tracking tools that are part of that. We're just throwing that in, as a bonus. And so we've assigned a really small value to that, even though, it's really a tremendous value. It's way more than $3,500, $3,600, but that brings the total value of this program up to $27,266. And you might say, well, that's way more than my company can afford. Well, it's different for everybody. Some people can afford it, some people can't. Some businesses can, some businesses can't. But this is a value of what we assign based on, the knowledge of the industry. And so what we want to tell you, though, is that what we're really doing is we're saying, hey, we're not going to charge you $27,266 in value. What we're going to do is on September 1st, we're starting on a new program. And on September 1st, this program is going to be $4,997, all right? And that's what people are going to pay. Now, what I'm telling you right now, though, is I'm looking for 20 people to help us get started in this new program starting September 1st at this point. And so in this program right now, we are offering for the first 20 people who want to join, we only have a maximum capacity of 100 people to join this program, but for the first 20 people who are going to join this today, we're going to offer this program for only $997. And you might think, well, that's unbelievable. That's incredible. Yeah, I know it is. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a jump start, on getting this digital transformation information out into people's hands. And so we wanted to offer it at such a ridiculously low price with such an incredibly high value that people would just automatically jump in, really, and join it and be part of it. But let me tell you what's going to happen is that on September 1st, when we start the program, it's going to go back up to $4,997. And so if you're on this webinar today, all right, here's an offer that we're making, a very special offer that we're making, is that right now, for the next 30 minutes, all right, in 30 minutes only, we're allowing 20 people to jump into the program at only $997, all right? And you can go to the URL that's listed here on the screen, which is www.digitalaircraft.org/order form, www.digitalaircraft.org/order form, and for only $997, you can get access to this program. Now, let me tell you a couple things about the program. The program is highly customized, and as people join the program, we'll have 20 people with different interests and going in different directions in different businesses. And so what we do as a regular part of the program is we modify it to be able to meet the needs of the people that are in the program. And so this is the way it works. Week 1, we release the information for week 1. We release the belief information. We engage in belief. We talk about the requirements of the program. We talk about what's to come. And we get feedback from people through the one-on-one, coaching sessions, through the first group session, and we begin to modify the content so that it meets the needs of that group. And then we release week 2, we release week 3, we release week 4. And what we do is we walk with you through this program, we step through it so that you have the opportunity and possibility to be able to do the work and the things that are successful. And I will guarantee you that if you do the work that we tell you to do over a 4-week period with those 2 extra weeks, you will emerge successful. And we are so confident that you will emerge successful that we have offered a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So there is really zero risk in this program. We're just looking for 20 people to jump in and be part of this in the next 30 minutes. I see we have quite a number of people that are still on the webinar, and I'm going to go ahead and share that last screen again. Hope you can see that screen. So again, the URL is www.digitalaircraft.org/order form. And for the next, well, I guess the clock reset for the next 29 minutes, essentially you have the opportunity to be able to go to that site and to join this Digital Transformation Accelerator program for only $9.97. So we're really super excited about being able to offer this to you. And we're only going to take the first 20 people at this price, and then it's going to go up to $49.97. So now for the next 30 minutes, we're going to take some questions. I have a lot of people that have asked questions, and we are going to continue to try to address those questions. And so let's take the first question. All right, the first question is that do we know companies that have done digital transformations? That comes from somebody out there in the chat session at this point in time. Yes, you know, digital transformation finds its way in many different ways, and looks like that clock has stopped again. Like I told you, you know, you never know what's going to happen when you're going live, and so we're just going to let that clock drop. Is what we're going to do. It's pretty exciting when you get to go live because things don't go exactly the way you want them to go now, do they? Yeah. There you go. So I'm just going to put that presentation up there, and we are going to continue forward with these discussions. All right. So we have a question, and it was, do we know companies that have done digital transformation? Absolutely. I have worked with, like I said, over 200 companies, and of those 200 companies, everybody, like I said, is on a different digital transformation journey. And it's just the nature of what it is. Listen, there's only one company that I ever worked with in history that started from zero. I actually went to Iraqi Airways quite a number of years ago, and they didn't have anything. And I had to help them really just come up with a new plan to start from zero. But unless you're a brand new business, which says, hey, we're going to start up an airline, and we don't have any processes in place today, and we want to you know, start something brand new, you're starting from somewhere along that journey. And so, so I've worked with many different companies that have been involved in digital transformation, and they all look different at this point. They might be focused on how do we increase our sales and our leads, how do we transform our sales process. They might be looking at entering into service of new aircraft, and how do we transform that particular area of maintenance and supporting those new aircraft. I've worked with those kind of people. I've worked with companies which were looking at disruption management. So they were looking all the way across an organization, and they were looking at disruption in the airline operation. And they were looking at air traffic control. They were looking at maintenance. They were looking at ground operations and flight operations, and all the different parts of it that flowed into digital transformation to be able to help improve, you know, their disruption management of their operation. And then I've worked with software companies which simply were looking at how do we optimize our processes so that we can have higher quality software, and how can we produce better products that have better features that meet the needs, you know, of our customers at this point. So it really goes across the board in a lot of different places in order to be able to create that success. But yes, I've worked with many companies that have been involved in digital transformation. Okay, so next question is that, you know, developing of an ROI is difficult, and so, you know, how do we develop an ROI? Okay, so I've done a lot of business case development for people, and I've done a lot of development of business cases that people were trying to justify that they were implementing of certain technology. And what I'll say is this, is that a business case usually is not looked at broadly enough, all right? Business cases are usually looked at in a more narrow sense, and people are usually looking at one or two factors which are creating the business case. And what I found over the years is that we need to look at many, many different factors. Sometimes I look at 20 factors in a business case. Sometimes I looked at as many as 70 factors in a business case. And the end result is that only certain ones are going to apply for different people. And so in order to be able to create a return on investment, we have to look at the value of different things. Now, many times people are focusing on just technology. What can the value of technology bring me in this return on investment? And I challenged people during those times to say we need to look more broadly than that. Like, for example, if you look at production, you look at the people that are working on an aircraft and they're maintaining that airplane, all right, is that there's a lot of people that work on the airplane, and so the impact of the number of people that are working on an airplane is quite high. If you can find a way to reduce that, even a small amount, you can save millions of dollars within any organization that's maintaining large airplanes. And so we would focus on things like capturing the value that came from the reduction of labor, in high volume production processes. And we would focus on other factors, like quality. How many errors were there in the processes? What were we doing as far as digital records were concerned? And how do we minimize the closeout problems that people had? How do we take an electronic task card and ensure that it's signed off properly as part of the overall process? And so in the end, it was absolutely critical that we looked at multiple factors to be able to create return on investment. And so, if you're sitting there thinking that it's just really difficult for me as a company to do any kind of a digital transformation because we don't seem to be able to financially justify the purchase. Well, what I challenge is that, are we looking at the right places? That's one of the reasons why we look at strategy and we do coaching with people, and we help people to understand that value doesn't always necessarily come from the implementation of technology. It comes from the business process and what it is that we're getting from the implementation of the business process at that point. So that was a great question about business process. All right, good. Okay, the next question that I have here pertains to belief. How do we build belief, in a team? All right. Okay, let me just say that I've seen that over time, that belief is one of the most critical components of success in any digital transformation. I said that earlier. Let me just tell you a little story about a business that I saw. Not too long ago, I was looking at a maintenance and repair organization, and the leader of that organization had absolutely decided that he needed to implement technology which would control the production processes and enable people to be successful in accomplishing work, all right? And he was absolutely committed in his mind to the commitment of accomplishing that work. And it was that messaging that translated to the people. And so the executive being committed that he wanted this success that came from this translated to the enthusiasm of the people. And the people were much more enthusiastic and engaged. And so really from a leader's standpoint, leaders committed to what they're doing and committed to this successful outcome of a digital transformation are really one of the most important things of success in any digital transformation. And that's really critical and really important from a leadership standpoint. Okay, so the next layer down below that might have been the management team that was involved in a digital transformation. Well, I found that management team needed to give the team of people that were involved in digital transformation the liberty to use their knowledge and their experience, the liberty to try things out, to be able to test and to be able to fail, all right? But the ultimate goal is not to fail, but many times we have to experiment with things. We have to go talk to a vendor and see if we think this would work, maybe do a proof of concept. But part of that whole process comes from us looking at what's your strategy, what is it that you're trying to accomplish, putting together some good solid plans and strategies for being able to move forward and being able to put in project plans for success. And so really believing in what you're doing, both at the executive level and at the intermediate management level, creates belief at other levels within the organization. People need to know that their knowledge is valued and their contributions are valued, and that they're going to be part of this transformation process. And it's critical that all the way from the top to the bottom, that people believe in one another and they believe that they're all part of a team that's going to carry out the success, of this transformation. So those are all really, really great, great questions, you know, that are part of this. Okay, so the next question I have is that, hey, there's so many different factors that affect my digital transformation. How do I really create a picture of what the future is, like what you talked about? Okay, you know, let's talk about that. You know, you have to understand your business first of all. What is your business? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to sell more? Are you trying to develop a piece of software? Are you trying to create you know, operations management? Are you trying to implement a new aircraft? Are you implementing a new hangar? You know, all those different factors affect whether you're successful or not whether you're successful, but they affect what the strategy is and really what you're doing and where you're going. And so in order to be able to paint a picture of the future, it starts with what's the foundation, what's the core purpose for the business, what are we trying to do, and staying with that core purpose and function, and looking at how do we accelerate that process using technology. How do we accelerate that process by talking to other people in the industry and learning from people that have been successful in this space, and learning from other companies that have been successful in doing this, and bringing those ideas together as part of our business and implementing those. Now, that's why we've structured this program to do this. Look, you can go out and hire a team of consultants to go do this, and it can be quite costly to do that. And that's why we're leveraging, you know, this digital transformation accelerator program, is because it can be available to a large number of people at a dramatically reduced, you know, cost, and still achieve the value that you get from working with so many people. I can't tell you the value that I got by working with industry experts and using their knowledge to be able to change my mind and the way I thought about things. You see, I told you that I traveled 480,000 miles last year, right? I've worked with over 200 companies. And yes, you know, people can do it on their own. You can do this, right? You know, but you might have to fly 1 million miles, or you might have to spend 3 or 4 years going out and talking to companies, you know. And so the end result is it's very costly and very time consuming to the business to be able to achieve this kind of knowledge in this business, to be able to paint this future. That's why we put together, you know, this forum and this digital transformation accelerator, for you not only to have the knowledge, you know, available to you, but the tools available to you, and the consulting and the access to other people, you know, and the ability to be able to ask questions, and the ability to be part of workshops, and, you know, all of that over essentially a 6-week period at really a nominal cost, you know, to be able to get you started at this point. All right. And it's really our intention, our absolute goal and intention, for those 20 people, you know, that are going to get this program at $997, you know, for them to be able to be absolutely and completely successful in moving forward in that first 6 weeks. Now, after that, you know, we're going to continue to take on people. And in this first group that we're going to go through, we're only going to take on a maximum of 100 people that are part of this, because otherwise the group just gets too big. But everybody after those first 20 people will be paying, you know, $4,997 after September 1st for this program. And so, you know, I want to encourage you that this is a tremendous value, and I've done this. I know how costly it is, and we know that working in this way and working in a structured manner where people are encouraging you and supporting you and helping you to think through things as part of that virtual mastermind that I talked about, it really is what people need to be able to believe and to be able to engage. And, you know, sometimes we just need a push to be able to move forward. And it's that push that we need many times to help us to go. That's really maybe just the last thing that we need. Maybe we believe and we're not really sure where to go, and now someone brings in some ideas and some tools, and I just need an encouragement or a discussion with somebody, or a strategy session, you know, to be able to help, you know, move forward. And then after that, you know, once we've started laying things out, then, you know, a week later we start to, you know, lay out some details of it, and we need to have another discussion saying, you know, we kind of ran across this roadblock, and we need some other help and some information on being able to move forward. And that's what those one-on-one, you know, strategy sessions are for. You know, coaching sessions, video coaching sessions, and the group coaching sessions, and, you know, they're invaluable. And so it's through all those things that we're able to paint the future, and to really to be able to create a vision of where we're going and what we're doing. So, all right, so let's see if they have any other questions. Let me look and see if there's any other questions here. So, all right, okay, yeah, we have another question here. It says, you said there's a money back guarantee. Okay, well, there's a money back guarantee, and all I'm telling you is that we are so absolutely certain that this will change your life that that if within the first 30 days of you being in this program, you're not 100% satisfied, we will in fact refund you 100%. So really, there is no risk. I mean, look at all the value that you have available to you. You have almost $30,000 in value of products and consulting, being made available to you at such a low price of $997. And so yes, but we do offer a full money back guarantee that if you're not satisfied, that we'll refund your money. But we don't think that that's going to happen because we know from success of working with people that people have achieved success. And we have business case after business case after business case where people have been successful, where people have started new businesses and they've grown them and they've increased their presence on social media, where people have started new businesses and they've attained new customers. I helped one person secure 5,000 new customers. I actually helped a software company, secure $50 million in new revenue, and 30 of that was actually all in 1 year. And over the years, I've actually worked with so many different companies and helped them to be successful that we have a clear history of success and know that these methods and approaches are successful. And the only thing that's different is we're creating a brand new opportunity for people in that because we're able to leverage the kind of infrastructure that comes with technology and with the internet and the video training and the video coaching, we're able to offer you this kind of information and knowledge and services at a fraction of what it would be if you went and hired people directly. Like I said, is that one airline, I told you, spent $2.2 million to be able to have me, on staff with them for 3 years. All right. And, so, most businesses just can't afford that. And so we have, through the internet and through technology, we've given anybody the ability to be able to be successful with these kind of knowledge and approach and tools. And that's being offered to you. So it looks like we're coming to a close in the time of our webinar. And there's only 10 minutes left in the countdown for you to be able to, the first 20 people, to be able to get this offer of $997. And so I'm going to encourage you again to go to our website where you can order. And it's at www.digitalaircraft.org/order form. And you can go there and you can sign up for the program. And I guarantee you will not be disappointed. You will be successful and you will be happy. And we're looking forward to working with you as a team. And we know that we are going to move this industry forward further and faster than we ever have before, based on the kind of response that we've gotten from people and the success that people have seen. And we have people that are so excited about being engaged in digital transformation. It's unbelievable. We have never seen a time in history where all the factors have come together like they are right now today. There's really nothing keeping people from being successful in digital transformation other than their lack of moving forward at this point. And we believe that through belief and through enthusiasm and coaching and giving people the knowledge necessary and tools and support and helping people to connect with the industry, and putting people into a situation where all those things, secret number 1, secret number 2, secret number 3, are all part of helping people to be successful. And so I encourage you to jump onto this program at this low price of $997 because you will not be disappointed. I wanted to thank you very, very much for being part of this webinar today. We're excited to have had you here. And we've done some webinars in the past that have been on different subjects. We've done some on blockchain. We're going to do some again in the future on other subjects. And we're looking forward to having you on future webinars. And I want to thank you for being part of our webinar today. So with that, we're going to sign off. And I want to thank you for being with us today. I'll say as I conclude everything that I do, fair winds and following seas to you. And I wish you to have a good day. Thank you. you.